So good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you are on a different time zone, or good evening. I'm here today with Sarah Quigley, the founder of Private Travel Iceland. So I had the chance to be with her last week on our East Coast Roadshow. You had an amazing success, and I think you have a beautiful presentation that we're going to share to everyone today. Huh?
Thank you, Dominique, and thank you for everyone for giving up your morning and lunchtime to join us on this webinar. As Dominique said, I was with some of you last week on the East Coast and earlier in the year on the West Coast. And in those presentations, we're just talking about Private Travel Iceland. So I wanted to go through just bringing it back to basics, really, and just going through the logistics of Iceland, because I know that we've got a lot of new people working with us or looking to work with us. So it's just going through really what we can do in Iceland. I think Dominique's going to put my presentation up in a minute because mine's not working for some reason.
Here it is. Voila.
There we go. So I think if we move to the first or second, yes, let's stop on this one for a bit. So this is Iceland. And what we're sort of looking on is what we can do really on people's first trip to Iceland, and then what we can do for people coming for a little bit longer than sort of a general week, and then what people are doing when they're returning to Iceland. So we're flying into Keflavik, which is in the southwest of the country, just where that Blue Lagoon is there. So the airport's 20 minutes from the Blue Lagoon. So people are usually coming into Keflavik, spending a little bit time in Reykjavik, going up to the Golden Circle, which is Þingvellir, Gullfoss and Geysir. Then we'll head down to that south coast to the black sand beaches and Vik and the waterfalls on the south coast. And then we usually end at the Blue Lagoon. So that's a general sort of first time itinerary. If we've got a little bit longer, we will go to the southeast of the country and look at that Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon or the Diamond Beach. Or we would look at the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, which is where we have the Kirkjuvik Mountain. And that's sort of if we've got 7, 8, 9 nights that we can do that sort of thing. People wanting to return to Iceland, maybe they've come before and wanting to go back, we usually head up north to Akurey and look at the towns up in the north and the waterfalls there. Or in the summer months, we can do the full ring road. So that blue road all the way shown there on that map. And what we recommend really is sort of 12 to 14 days to do that comfortably. So we're not constantly driving and stopping all the time. That way we get to sort of appreciate all the sights. So I think we're ready for the next few slides. So we're just going to have a look at some of the pictures of Iceland. So this is Reykjavik, the capital. It's a very small, walkable, as you can see, easy, manageable city. We can include a guide here, but we find a lot of people are quite happy just to sort of navigate the city by themselves, do a food walking tour, go see some galleries or museums or things. And also the restaurant scene in Reykjavik is amazing. So Borgarfjörður here, this is north of Reykjavik, sort of between the city and that Snæfellsnes Peninsula that we talked about. We can do this as a day trip from Reykjavik, or we can stay in this area, and the property that we would use would be Hotel Húsafell. And then we can do some more waterfalls. As you can see, we have many, so 10,000 in Iceland in a roundabout. So people are always going to see some amazing sort of waterfalls. Great hiking here. We can go into a lava cave. We can go into some thermal pools called the canyon baths. Okay. This is a Diamond Beach, so what I briefly touched on in the southeast of the country. So these are the icebergs that come off Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon and the glacier there. They wash out to shore, and as you can see, some of them are really polished as they get hit in the waves and come back on that black sand beach. Okay. Lamanlur, these are the Icelandic highlands. So this is an area that we can access usually sort of mid-June to mid-September. And what we do is we access it with a super Jeep. So this is a modified four-wheel drive car on sort of 32 to 46 inch tires. This is a great hiking day. A lot of the area in Lamanlur is featured in one of the National Geographic top hikes of the world. And that should lead us to Thorsmork on the next slide. Yes, so this is the other super Jeep day that we can do from the south coast. So Thorsmork means Valley of the Thor. And this, as you can see in the background there, is the glacier, and underneath it, the volcano that erupted in 2011 with the ash cloud, so causing all the European air traffic to close. So when this erupted, part of the glacier melted, it came through the valley and over to the ocean there, and it made this amazing glacier river valley with hidden canyons and waterfalls. Okay, the Golden Circle is probably Iceland's most sort of popular tour. We've got in the middle sort of small picture, that is where the first parliament was formed. The big picture is Silfra, where we can do the diving and snorkeling, and where the two tectonic plates meet. And then we've got Geysir down the bottom there. Let's see what next. And then the other sort of popular tour in Iceland is the south coast. So this features glaciers where we can do ice walking and snowmobiling in the winter. If we're wanting to do snowmobiling in the summer, we would do that from the Golden Circle area. We've got here the black sand beaches, so we can do horse riding on these beaches, ATVs, and quad bikes, and buggy rides and things. There's also some zip lining that we can do there in the South Shore. Snæfellsnes, so this was the peninsula, if we've got a little bit longer, that we can focus on. That's the first sort of western peninsula in Iceland. This is Kirkjufjörð, which is a mountain. A lot of people say it looks like the Harry Potter sorting hat. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I'm not quite sure, but everyone said it sort of replicates it. This area is probably one of my favorites in Iceland, after the Highlands. It's a little less touristy than obviously that sort of Golden Circle South Shore area. And it's really just sort of stunning. There's an amazing glacier there. You've got the mountains. You've got some really picturesque sort of beaches where you can do some horseback riding on them, and some kayaking and things. I just want to sort of briefly, I'm going to show you a few slides of the difference between summer and winter in Iceland. So summer, we're just sort of obviously coming into now. The days are getting longer. When we get to sort of mid-June, we're blessed with 24 hours of daylight. And then obviously we have to flip that in the reverse for winter then. We've got 3 to 4 hours of daylight. So this is Skogafoss waterfall in the summer, and the next one will be in the winter. And then the next image will be Gullfoss waterfall in the summer. And then again, the next one will be in the winter. So you can see those like dramatic differences of the scenery, just looking at the same thing. So we do get a lot of repeat clients that will come to Iceland, maybe in the winter, in the chance to see the Northern Lights, you know, and after speaking with their guide, they want to come back in the summer and experience something completely different. Okay. So touching on the Northern Lights season, we are just sort of coming to the end of now, but it will probably start up again around September time through to sort of April. Obviously, this is not something we can guarantee. We do our utmost to get your clients out to see them if they are forecast when they're over with us. And we do that by, on any sort of winter itinerary, automatically including a Northern Light hunt. So the guides have these great networks, and they all communicate with each other. And if they're out with clients and they see the Northern Lights, they'll let everyone else know. So it's a case of sharing and not being in competition with everybody. Also as well, some of the hotels have this amazing facility called like the Northern Light wake up call. So when you go to bed at night, you can put your name down at the front desk, and if the Northern Lights come out, then the night manager will give you a call. So this is sort of one thing that we want to sort of briefly touch on at the moment, and that is our on and off going eruption. So this is in the Reykjanes Peninsula area, and you know this area has been erupting recently, and since sort of COVID was finishing. When those sort of first 2-3 years it was happening, it was going on for a sort of a couple of months over the summer period. And it was in a very sort of remote area, which was great for us. We were able to use it as a sort of a draw to come into Iceland. We could hike there, we could take the fat bikes, we could take the helicopter over. And then at the end of last year, this sort of system of tunnels where the volcanoes are operating shifted, and it came closer to a town called Grindavik, which is a small fishing town in Iceland, which is the closest town to the Blue Lagoon and one of the power stations. So these were the reasons that the Blue Lagoon closed, just for sort of precaution. They have built an amazing natural wall around the property for protection. And then, you know, a couple of the eruptions that have happened this year have gone over the road that goes to the Blue Lagoon, but within a week they've built a whole new road and managed to sort of give access to the property again. So the Blue Lagoon is currently open. It did close for a couple of days over the weekend, but we're open now. It's operating. For anyone that's booked into the Blue Lagoon in the sort of coming months, we are booking automatically a plan B. So you know, if they've got 2 nights accommodation there, because that's a minimum stay at the retreat, we will make sure that we've got 2 nights booked somewhere else that fits in with their itinerary. Or if they just have a day entrance into the retreat, into the Blue Lagoon, then we'll make sure that we've got another lagoon booked for them to see should the Blue Lagoon be closed while they're over there. Thank you, Dominique. So.
I don't know. Sorry.
We like this picture so much.
But I don't know why I can't move anymore.
There we go. So we're just going to go through some of the hotels that we work with. So I think the first slide is the northern hotels we've got. So we work with some of the properties that we work with up north are Fossniva, the Siglu, and obviously Depler Farm. Depler Farm is a property where everything's all included. So we will get the clients up there, whether it be internal flight, a transfer, or a helicopter transfer. And then once they're in Depler Farm, they have their own guide there. Their activities are included. There are a few that they need to pay for a supplement for, but this has all gone through on their call beforehand, and their food and drink. Southern Iceland, these are a few of our favorites. So Torfhus down there in the bottom, we've got Skallakot and the Foss Glacier Lagoon, and then Reykjavik and its surroundings. So the main picture there is a Tower Suites property in Reykjavik, which is a really nice property, big suites, floor to ceiling windows, great views of the city. It's just a little bit further out than the downtown sort of properties like the Addition there in the main picture. But like the Addition, it's really good for sort of connecting options. There's only, I think, 6 to 8 suites in the Tower Suite, so we can book like half of it out as a wing because it's sort of divided in 2 sections. And the Addition there, which is great, like I said, for connecting for families, and that's based on the harbour. We've got some smaller boutique properties within the city, so it really just sort of depends on your client's tastes and budgets. And then obviously the bottom picture there is the retreat. And then something I just want to touch on is the portfolio of private houses that we've got. So mainly in the southern area and the Golden Circle of Iceland. We've got a few apartments located in Reykjavik, and then some in the Snæfellsnes area and a couple up in the north. So these are good for multi-generational families. You know, people maybe that will need a bit more privacy, or just want to be sort of really remote. A private house is a great option for that. We can also do things when people are booked in private houses, such as some of the activities there. We can bring the horses to the house and they can do horse riding in the area. And most of them, the helicopters can land right next to the house. So it just adds that extra ease of access and privacy. Okay, so some of the activities that we can add on into the days in Iceland. So obviously we've talked about like Golden Circle, we've talked about Thorsmort, we talked about the South Shore. And then what we can do is add on an activity a day. We usually say 1, just because it helps with sort of logistics and them still being able to see some of the main sites. So we can do ice walking, heli skiing, snowmobiling. The heli skiing season is just sort of starting now. Ice walk and snowmobiling can be done all year round. We've got kayaking and rafting there, which are done sort of summer months. Whale watching and diving and snorkeling, they can be done all year round. And then we go mountain biking. We've got fat biking and e-bikes. Horseback riding, buggies, ATVs, again, they can be done all year round in sort of numerous locations within the country. And then we've got going into caves, lava tunnels, and the top right picture is inside the volcano. So this is where you descend into a dormant volcano, and that's just run in the summer months as well. Puffin watching in the summer, like river fishing, so that is for salmon, Arctic char, and trout. That's done in the summer months. Zip lining, and again golfing in the summer months, where you know, like as I mentioned earlier, when we get to that June, sort of mid-June, where we've got 24 hours of daylight, you can tee off at midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning, just for something a little bit different to do. And then these are just some of the lagoons. So obviously, you know, with the Blue Lagoon sort of on off closed at the moment, it's given us a chance to use some of the many other lagoons in Iceland. We've got the Sky Lagoon there at the bottom right in Reykjavik. As I mentioned earlier, by Hotel Husaville, we've got the canyon baths. We've got many different baths on the East Fjords if we're doing a ring road, or up in the north, and then a few more sort of located within the Golden Circle. So plenty of option. It's a big thing in Iceland. Also, and a lot of the hotels have hot pools as well of their own. If you're staying in Torfhus, you get your own private one in a 2-bedroom Torfhus. And then some of the bigger properties, then you're sharing hot pools. Okay. And then just want to sort of touch on the food scene. So, you know, Private Travel Iceland, we're 11 years old now, and I've been working with Iceland sort of travel for 15 to 20 years. And when I first went over to Iceland, the food there was questionable, probably is the polite way to say. And now when you go to Iceland, the food is absolutely amazing. We've got Michelin star chefs now. There's so many pop-up restaurants and fusion cuisine. And now when you go to Iceland, you're just so excited on where to eat next and what to try. So, you know, a food walk tour is a good way for people to get their bearings on the city and to try some different foods when they arrive into Iceland. Or, you know, there's a couple of places in Reykjavik or when they've got those private houses to have sort of cookery classes and do some distillery tours as well. Okay, so just to sort of end some of the special moments that we've done over the years. So I think the first picture, this is the Harpa Concert Hall in Reykjavik. We hired this out for that family sitting in the audience there privately with the Icelandic Philharmonic Orchestra. We've done so many different dinner setups, private dinners, whether it be for a family or just for a couple in a cave or on a glacier. We've done bachelor parties in a Game of Thrones style, where we gave them sort of like coordinates to find a destination, and they ended up in the following slide, which is where they had their private dinner, where we had a DJ for them and they just sort of partied there for the night. A lot of the venues like inside the glacier here, you can hire out for drinks. We've hired out inside the volcano privately for a proposal. So, you know, we live in a country where the population is 360,000 people, which is such a small number. So everybody knows everybody in order to be able to sort of sort something out. There we go. Thank you, Dominique, for the slides. And I hope that sort of helps people with the logistics, and if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Carrie, you said you have clients eating there in August and just finalized it yesterday. Voilà. René, how long do you need for your first time in Iceland?
I would say in the summer, around a week. If you're coming in winter, probably a little bit less, just because those days are shorter, so it's a different experience.
Mm-hmm. Laurie, how many days do you recommend for first-timers? So that's get the same question. Angela, do you take care of last-minute trip requests? What would be the pricing average per day, per person to be able to do last-minute trips?
We can arrange last-minute trips. Obviously, just give us as much information as possible and we can check on availability. There's still pockets of things. So sometimes when we do last-minute ones, it may not be in the order of moving around that we would do if we had a better lead-up time. But it's just a case of checking what's available and getting it in to sort of fit what's right. I would say per person, you're probably looking between 1,000 and 1,500, depending per person per day, depending on what we're sort of looking to add in and what sort of accommodation is available. But, you know, just tell us the client's budget and we'll do our best to sort of fit in with that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Amy wanted to know what was the pool on the bottom right-hand side. So
I think it was the Sky Lagoon in Reykjavik. So this is one that opened about 2-3 years ago now, and it's for 12 years and above, so no children in there. And it's just in Reykjavik, so it's sort of the other side to the harbour, and it's kind of like an infinity pool with a spa, like a sauna and a few other internal rooms. And then because of the sort of mountains and the way it's built, you you're looking over to the mountains on the other side of Reykjavik, so you don't actually see the city. So it does feel pretty remote.
Ray, you said just love Iceland and want to return in the summer this time.
It's a completely different if you've come in winter.
And Brenda is asking how to contact you, so you will be sending the recording. Huh?
I'll send the recording, yeah. So I'm traveling back home today from Miami. So when I'm back in the office on Wednesday, I'll do the follow-up. But if you've got anything else in the meantime, either contact Dominique or it's info@pti.is. Probably best to come through.
Yes, Brenda, always when you don't remember how to contact our partner, we recommend you book them directly. You send us a request, we forward them to our DMC, and for hotels in general, we're actually able to offer you extra commission and amenities. So always good to email us or at least copy us. Gabriella wants to know if there is a minimum age for children due to the activities.
Yes, they all have different ages. So anything motorized, so snowmobiling, ATV and buggies, it's usually around 8, and that's to be a passenger. In order to ride them, you need a driver's license. Horse riding is a younger age, and it will start with like a lane red at the beginning. We can take I think inside the volcano is 8. They've just changed that, I believe. Going into the retreat is 12, but the Blue Lagoon, the main lagoon, is 2. So it's all different. You just tell us the children's ages and we'll fit those activities best in.
So, but you have activities for all age?
Yes. I would recommend, we've taken families of all ages, so, anything from sort of a baby of a few months up to sort of adulthood. But I would recommend personally, teenage is a perfect age for Iceland. But if you have young as 8 and above, then it's still good. We can still do plenty with them.
I see, Jose, for example. What about activity for kids between 8 and 15? So that's a right.
Yes, they would be more passengers on sort of motorized things. They can horse ride, they can go in lava tunnels, they can ice walk. So there is plenty for them to do.
Diana, she said, thank you for a great presentation. Thank you,
Diana.
Amy is looking forward to the recording, and she needs the notes.
Thank you, Amy.
And Gabrielle said thank you. So I don't see any other request or question. Thank you, everybody, again for joining.
As Dominique said, we'll do the follow-up on Wednesday, so I'll send the recording. You'll have my details, so any questions, and then if you want a sort of another presentation, like a one-on-one, then I'm more than happy to do that as well. And
since I've been working with Sarah, the only thing I'm hearing is fabulous things. They said she's fair with the rates. When nobody said Iceland is cheap.
No.
But Sarah is fair. Sarah is fair. She's very fast to answer and very creative. So I think you're very much in very good hands. I can tell you that. Voilà.
Thank you, Dominique.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Mary. She said she's working with Sarah now. Oh,
yes.
Everybody for trusting us, and all our wonderful DMCs and property. It means a lot to me. So I'm grateful every day for that. Thank you, Sarah. We'll send you the recording in a few minutes. All right.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Good evening for you, actually, Sarah. It might not be time to
No.
a little later for you then. All right. Allez, have a good rest of the day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you, Angela.